Nobody wants you to know this, but there are parts of America where your bank account can be on life support, and the state just shrugs and hands you the keys anyway. I'm not saying you'll be living like a crypto bro in Miami. I am saying there are states where people survive, thrive, even on vibes, bartering, and the financial equivalent of duct tape. Places where rent is low, expectations are lower, and the phrase cost of living crisis hasn't quite loaded yet. This list exists because TikTok keeps screaming, move to Texas. Like Texas didn't wake up one day and decide it wanted California prices with cowboy branding. Every state has a catch. Some just hide it behind mountains. Others hide it behind Dollar Generals. Today we're talking about the 7 cheapest U.S. states where, theoretically, you could live with $0 in 2026, meaning extremely low rent, aggressive government assistance, under-the-table economies nobody admits exist, and towns where side hustle means mowing your neighbor's lawn for venison. We'll cover what it really costs, why it's so cheap, and what emotional toll the weather, isolation, and local Facebook groups will extract from your soul. Like and subscribe, because if you don't, YouTube will assume you love paying $2,400 for a one-bedroom with no parking and a spiritual mold problem. Let's begin. Shown. West Virginia. West Virginia is one of those states where the price tags feel like a typo that nobody bothered correcting. You'll scroll Zillow thinking, there is no way that's the monthly rent. And then it is. And then you feel slightly suspicious, like you're being pranked by the Appalachian Mountains themselves. This state has about 1.77 million people, most of them spread out across winding mountain roads, river valleys, and towns that feel like they peaked emotionally sometime between 1978 and the invention of Facebook. Major industries include healthcare, energy, education, and remnants of coal and manufacturing that refuse to fully die, kind of like the towns built around them. So why is it so cheap? Because West Virginia has been economically punched, kicked, and left on red for decades. When coal declined, a lot of jobs disappeared, and the state never really replaced them with flashy alternatives. That tanked demand. Low demand means housing prices absolutely collapsed. We're talking apartments in the $400, $600 range, full houses sometimes under $700, and landlords who are just grateful you showed up with a pulse. Now, here's the part no one puts on the brochure. West Virginia is actually one of the easier states to survive in, with $0. SNAP benefits are accessible. Medicaid coverage is strong. Utility assistance programs are common. And because communities are smaller, people notice when you're struggling. This is not a suffer silently state. Someone's going to ask questions and then offer help, and then overshare their entire life story. The drivers? Either painfully cautious or wildly confident, nothing in between. The weather is dramatic. Fog rolls in like it's being paid to set a mood. Cell service plays hide and seek. Shopping options are limited, but Dollar General has filled the gap like a corporate fungus, popping up everywhere at once. So picture this, you step outside early in the morning. The mountains are layered in mist. It's quiet. Too quiet. You hear birds, a distant truck, maybe your own thoughts for once. Your rent is low enough that you're not panicking every month. You're broke, yes, but you're not being hunted by bills. West Virginia won't make you rich, but it might give you something more valuable when you're at $0. Time to recover without drowning. And trust me, this is just the beginning. 2. Mississippi. Mississippi is so cheap it almost feels like the state opted out of the modern economy and just decided to vibe quietly in the background while everyone else fought over rent. This is a place where Zillow listings look suspiciously calm. You'll see apartments for $400, $600, small houses under $700, and neighborhoods where the landlord's biggest concern is whether you're gonna be loud. Mississippi has around 2.9 million people, spread across farmland, river towns, pine forests, and cities that feel like they move at the speed of a long exhale. The major industries here are agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, shipbuilding along the Gulf Coast, and logistics. It's not flashy, but it's functional. Jobs exist. They just don't pay enough to scare off bargain hunters, which is exactly why housing never exploded the way it did everywhere else. So why is Mississippi this cheap? Because income levels are low, economic growth has been slow, and the state has spent decades ranking near the bottom of every list nobody wants to top. That scares off transplants chasing opportunity, which keeps demand low and rent frozen in time. The upside? If you have $0 income, the system actually expects that. Mississippi has some of the most accessible assistance programs in the country. SNAP eligibility is generous. Medicaid coverage is broad. Utility assistance is common. Food banks aren't hidden behind paperwork. They're community fixtures. If you're broke here, people don't look shocked. They look practical. Here's the downsides, though. The heat is not optional. It's aggressive. Summer doesn't arrive. It moves in. Humidity clings to you like it's emotionally attached. Drivers are slow, but not in a dangerous way. More in a we'll get there when we get there way. Shopping options range from Dollar General to another Dollar General that somehow sells different stuff. So you're looking at a picture like this. You're sitting on a porch at sunset. The air is thick. Cicadas are screaming like they're trying to unionize. Someone nearby is grilling something they're extremely confident about. You're not rich, but you're fed. Your rent is low. Nobody's rushing you to be anything other than alive and functional. Mississippi won't impress your group chat. But it might quietly give you time, stability, and breathing room when everywhere else just hands you a bill. And don't get comfortable. State #3 may look peaceful, but it comes with a different kind of surprise. 3. Arkansas. Arkansas is one of those states that exists quietly, like it's hoping no one notices how affordable it still is. It doesn't trend on TikTok. It doesn't get romanticized in movies. And that anonymity is exactly why it remains cheap enough to survive in, even when your bank account is aggressively doing nothing. The state has roughly 3 million people, spread across rolling hills, dense forests, farmland, and towns where the Walmart parking lot doubles as a social calendar. Major industries include agriculture, poultry, logistics, manufacturing, and an absurd concentration of corporate headquarters. Because yes, Walmart, Tyson Foods, and JB Hunt all operate out of Arkansas like they're in on some secret. So why hasn't the cost of living exploded? Because outside a few hotspots like Bentonville, Fayetteville, and parts of Little Rock, wages stay modest. Nightlife shuts down early, and excitement is considered optional. That keeps housing demand low. You can still find $450, $650 apartments, small houses cheaper than a used car, and landlords who will negotiate rent like it's a yard sale. Here's what makes Arkansas quietly viable at $0. Informal economies. People here fix things, build things, grow things. If you can mow lawns, help on a farm, repair equipment, or lift heavy objects without complaining, someone will pay you cash and possibly throw in food. It's not glamorous, but it works. Public assistance is also surprisingly accessible. SNAP benefits are available, Medicaid is expanded, utility costs are low. In rural areas, community networks fill the gaps, churches, local groups, and neighbors who don't announce their generosity online. Downsides are, drivers are either overly polite or deeply lost. The weather changes moods hourly. Tornado season is treated like a recurring inconvenience, not an emergency. Shopping options peak at Walmart Supercenter, which somehow contains everything and nothing at the same time. So, all in all, this is what you're looking towards. You wake up to birds instead of sirens. The air smells like trees, not exhaust. Your rent is low enough that you stop calculating everything in panic math. You start calling hikes plans, and quiet nights self-care. Arkansas won't make you feel important, but it might stabilize your life long enough for you to remember who you are without financial pressure crushing your chest. And next up, 4. Where the scenery is stunning and the silence starts asking questions. State #4, New Mexico. New Mexico feels like America accidentally left a door open, and this state just wandered in. Beautiful, strange, quiet, and operating on a completely different emotional frequency than the rest of the country. The state has just over 2.1 million people, which already tells you a lot. That's fewer people than some metro areas have dogs. The population is spread across deserts, high plains, mountain towns, and cities that feel part artist colony, part government outpost, part we came here to disappear and it worked. Major industries include government work, healthcare, energy, tourism, film production, and high-level research that nobody fully explains but always involves the desert. So why is it cheap? Because New Mexico has been chronically underinvested in for decades. Wages lag behind national averages. Infrastructure can feel unfinished. Job growth is slow. And a lot of people move here chasing a spiritual rebirth, only to leave once they realize enlightenment doesn't pay rent. That constant churn keeps demand low and prices surprisingly grounded. Outside Santa Fe and a few Albuquerque neighborhoods, you can still find $500, $700 rentals, sometimes with space, views, and silence that would cost triple anywhere else. Not luxury, just room to exist without being financially punished. Here's where New Mexico quietly shines. Support systems. Medicaid is expanded. SNAP access is solid. Utility assistance programs are active. Housing support exists and isn't buried under 10 layers of bureaucracy. If you're at $0, the state doesn't shame you, it processes you, which, in America, is rare. All that's great, however, here are the downside. The sun is relentless. It doesn't warm you, it interrogates you. The air is dry in a way that makes you realize your lips have never known peace. Wind appears uninvited and rearranges your plans. Drivers treat traffic laws like philosophical suggestions. Shopping is limited, but somehow there are 7 crystal shops, 3 meditation centers, and 1 grocery store everyone argues about. You step outside at dusk. The sky turns purple, red, and orange like it's performing just for you. The landscape stretches endlessly. It's quiet, too quiet. Your phone has 1 bar. Your thoughts get louder. You're not stressed about rent, but you might start questioning your life choices in a calm, reflective way. That's exactly what can be expected from New Mexico. That's the trade-off. New Mexico gives you space. Physical space, mental space, financial space. But space can feel lonely if you're not ready for it. This is a state for people who don't need constant stimulation. People who are okay rebuilding quietly. People who don't mind being a little unseen while they get back on their feet. New Mexico won't rush you. It won't impress your friends. But if you're broke, burned out, and craving peace more than prestige, it might be exactly what you need. Next up, State Hash 5, where winter doesn't ask for permission and rent drops accordingly. 5. North Dakota. North Dakota is cheap for one very simple reason. Most people don't want to live there, and the state has fully accepted that reality. This is a place with around 780,000 people total, less than some cities' weekend traffic. Towns are spread far apart, the horizon feels endless, and silence is the default setting. Major industries include energy, oil, agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, and anything related to moving large things through very empty spaces. The cost of living here is directly tied to the oil market. When oil is booming, rent spikes, and suddenly everyone pretends North Dakota is underrated. When oil slows down, housing demand collapses and rent falls off a cliff. That's where survival mode living becomes possible. In quieter periods, you can find apartments in the $450, $650 range. Sometimes even lower if you're not picky about aesthetics or proximity to anything fun. So, how does $0 living work here? First, North Dakota has expanded Medicaid, solid SNAP access, and utility assistance programs that actually function. Second, competition for resources is low. You're not fighting 10 other people for the same apartment, food bank slot, or assistance appointment. Third, communities are small, and small communities notice things. If you're struggling, someone is going to clock it. Here are the downsides. Winter here is not a season, it's a discipline. The cold doesn't bite. It files a formal complaint against your joints. Wind chill turns minor errands into character development arcs. Drivers are polite but emotionally distant. Shopping options are limited, and variety requires planning, patience, or a road trip that feels longer than it should. Picture this. You step outside in January. The air is sharp and clean. Snow absorbs sound until everything goes quiet. No sirens, no traffic, just you, the cold, and the knowledge that your rent is low because most people simply gave up. North Dakota won't entertain you. It won't distract you. And it definitely won't coddle you. But if you need time, low expenses, and zero social pressure while you rebuild, this state gives you that in abundance. You won't be competing with anyone. You won't be rushed. You'll just exist, quietly, cheaply. Next up, 6, where the rent is low, the culture is loud, and the humidity has opinions. State Hash 6, Louisiana. Louisiana is cheap in the same way a roller coaster with missing bolts is cheap, technically accessible, emotionally intense, and absolutely not for everyone. The state has about 4.5 million people, clustered around cities like New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette, with long stretches of swamp, bayou, and towns that feel like they're held together by tradition and duct tape. Major industries include energy, shipping, petrochemicals, healthcare, tourism, and whatever economy emerges when people really like festivals. So why is it this cheap? Because wages lag behind, infrastructure floods if you look at it wrong, and insurance costs scare people off faster than a Category 3 forecast. That keeps housing prices suppressed. Outside trendy neighborhoods, you can still find $500, $700 rent, sometimes lower if you're okay with humidity being your permanent roommate. Living here with $0 is possible because Louisiana has expanded Medicaid, accessible SNAP benefits, strong food pantry networks, and a culture where people share. You don't starve quietly here. Someone's aunt will feed you whether you asked or not. Here are the downsides. The heat is disrespectful. Humidity hugs you like it misses you. The weather flips personalities daily. Drivers treat lanes as suggestions. Wildlife includes mosquitoes the size of drones and lizards that act like they pay rent. So picture this. You step outside at night. The air is thick. Cicadas are screaming like they're protesting something. Somewhere, music is playing for no reason. You're broke, but fed. Stressed, but strangely entertained. Your rent is low enough that chaos feels manageable. Louisiana is not stable, but it is alive. And for some people, that energy, combined with low costs and strong community, makes survival feel less lonely. Would you live here? 7. Oklahoma. Oklahoma is cheap in a way that feels almost suspicious. Like the state collectively agreed not to tell anyone how affordable it still is, just to keep things manageable. This state has about 4 million people, spread across plains, small cities, and towns where the skyline is a grain elevator, a water tower, and a church having a silent rivalry. Major industries include energy, agriculture, aviation, manufacturing, logistics, and weather preparedness, because tornadoes are not a possibility here. They're a recurring personality trait. So why is Oklahoma this cheap? Because wages are modest, coastal transplants rarely make it past Texas, and the state has mastered the art of being overlooked. Demand stays low, which keeps housing prices grounded. Outside of the trendier pockets of Tulsa and Oklahoma City, you can still find $450, $650 rent, sometimes for full houses with yards, garages, and a past you're encouraged not to investigate. Living here with $0 in 2026 isn't theoretical, it's logistical. Oklahoma has expanded Medicaid, accessible SNAP benefits, and utility assistance programs that are functional without being hostile. On top of that, there's a strong informal work culture. Roofing help, farm labor, moving furniture, fixing engines, hauling things that absolutely should not be hauled. If you're useful, someone will quietly pay you in cash and gratitude. Downsides, you ask? The weather is feral. You can experience all 4 seasons in a single afternoon and still not know what month it is. Tornado sirens test your emotional stability. Drivers are calm until they're suddenly not. Shopping options swing wildly between surprisingly good and why is this the only store? So imagine this. You step outside just before a storm. The sky turns green, the air goes still, everything feels like it's holding its breath. Somewhere a siren wails. You're broke, but your rent is low enough that fear feels manageable. Oklahoma won't inspire envy. It won't trend online. And it definitely won't pretend to be something it's not. But if you need breathing room, low expenses, and a place that doesn't judge you for starting over, Oklahoma delivers. You can disappear here, reset here, rebuild without constant financial pressure tapping you on the shoulder. This is a state for people who value function over flash, stability over status, affordability over aesthetics. So, would you live here? And that's it. 7 states, 0 illusions, and proof that America still has places where survival doesn't cost everything you have. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody likes to say out loud. Living somewhere cheap isn't about winning at life. It's about buying yourself time. Every state on this list comes with trade-offs. Fewer jobs, fewer options, fewer people telling you what you should be doing with your life. But that's also the upside. When rent isn't strangling you every month, you get something rare in modern America: breathing room, space to reset, space to rebuild, space to figure things out without your bank account screaming in all caps. These places won't make you rich overnight. They won't impress your friends back home. And yes, some of them will test your relationship with weather, isolation, and Walmart lighting. But if you're broke, burnt out, or just tired of playing financial defense, cheap living can be the smartest move you make. The real question isn't, is this state perfect? It's, is this state good enough for now? So, would you actually do it? Which state surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments, because I read them. And so do the locals, who will immediately tell you why you're wrong. If this video saved you money, stress, or at least a little sanity, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More brutally honest breakdowns are coming, because somebody has to say the quiet part out loud.